Do not discuss politics on a job interview. Do not discuss politics on a first date. Don't discuss politics ever, because discussing politics is just asking for a fight. I have heard this my whole life, and it's a shame because I enjoy talking politics. Politics is something that is really important to me, but I understand that it can get people really riled up. A lot of people look at politics as a power struggle. There has to be a winner and there has to be a loser. It's Stanley Cup Game 7, there ain't no shootout. That is not how the political process has to be, because at the end of the day, we're building a society where everybody needs to be involved. So in this video, I'll be discussing 3 reasons why people get so upset when discussing politics and 3 possible solutions that you can use to make your debate a little bit more friendly. We actually have to walk backwards in history, so let me provide you guys a little bit of context. Back in the day when we lived in smaller communities, we were usually all speaking the same language, having a shared culture, and having a shared religion. If you look at the European history, the Christian church satisfied this role as being the guiding organization that put forward not only morality, but also history, science, and math. All of these academic disciplines were guided by the church. Until there was a group of academics known as the humanists who came onto the scene, and they developed a style of school known as the humanities. Because for the longest time, it was understood that God determined what happened on the earth. These humanists took a different approach. History, literature, anthropology. The humanities today are understood as anything that studies humans and humans' impact on the earth. If we look at government states around the globe right now, for the most part, most governments put forward a secular position. What I mean by secular is the idea that there is no governmental religion, that you are actually free to choose whatever religion you want as a citizen. So this kind of departure from viewing everything under the lens of religion was really instrumental in forming modern political states. So why does this matter in terms of our discussion around politics and the emotions that politics can bring? Well, we all have our moral compass. I have my moral compass. I have my opinion on what is right and what is wrong. However, that is fundamentally different than your definition of what is right and wrong. Some of you might still be sitting there watching the screen going, well, I think what's right is right because it's right. I would challenge you to say what you think is right because you think it's right, not necessarily because it's right. Am I using the word right too many times that it's starting to lose all meaning? Possibly. What I'm trying to drive at is this point is that we're all different. We all come from different backgrounds. We speak different languages, especially here in North America. Canada, the United States are 2 nations in particular that have First Nations communities, immigrant communities, and people from all over the world kind of coming and working together. So it's very important that every citizen acknowledge that their way is not necessarily the way. Not everybody agrees with this, but it's kind of the conclusion that I've come to after a lot of meditating on this subject. In England, you drive on the left side of the road. In America, you drive on the right side of the road. There's nothing immorally right or wrong about which direction you choose, but we do have to choose a direction. And if you drive on the right side of the road in England, you're going to get a traffic ticket because we all have to be moving in the same direction in order for society to function. So pick your lane, whether it's right or left, and drive in it. But we all have to be driving together. But you see, this stuff gets mucky very quickly. We don't always have a moral compass that everybody follows. It's very important to also acknowledge that neither side has a monopoly on morality. And what I mean by that is no political faction owns morality, and no political party can say that they are the moral choice and their opponents are the immoral choice. We really don't know what is right and what is wrong. That is between us and our Creator at the end of time. All we can do here on this earth is determine what is criminal and what is lawful, what is right and what is wrong in terms of the political process, so at least then we know the rules of the game and not really be worried about what is right and wrong from a spiritual or a moral lens. That would be what I would say is out of scope for the government. So to sum up the first point, I believe that politics gets people really riled up and people get really upset about it because we have different morals and because we can't come to the same conclusion around what is right and what is wrong. That inevitably breeds conflict. The next big point I want to get into is the idea of polarization. And polarization is fueled by political parties, the news media, and the internet age. Polarization is the idea of us versus them, that we have groups, that we have tribal groups that we fall into. Political parties really create this because of the left and right or red and blue dynamics that we have in modern politics. See, if you're part of the conservative team and you're team blue and you've completely drank in the Kool-Aid on that, the conservatives can do no wrong and the liberals are your sworn enemy. Vice versa if you're team red looking at team blue. I would challenge everybody to kind of get rid of that way of thinking. We must look at our politicians at a case-by-case basis and a person-by-person basis. It's important to vote for the right person for the job, not because of what team they represent or what color tie they're wearing at a certain time. The important thing that I would implore everybody watching this is to take a step back and really be an individual. I think that the media really stirs shit up a lot because of the way that it presents the news. The media will present the news in this is what this extreme person thinks, and this is what this extreme person thinks, and therefore the answer must be in the middle. Well, yes and no, maybe kind of thing, right? Another thing that really promotes tribalism and polarization is social media. And we're all familiar with this. I'm talking to you guys right now on YouTube. This is a social media platform where you get to pick and choose what content you want. And from a consumer side, yeah, that's great. You know, I'm really down with the internet age. I don't think anything's stopping Meta and Google. They are so far out front and have disrupted the news industry. I don't think anything's going to be turning this boat around. But you need to acknowledge that the way that we can customize our news feeds, the way that we can block certain people and follow certain people can create these echo chambers. And if I were to define what an echo chamber is, it is essentially a locked or a walled garden where you only get the information that you want to hear. And this isn't very good for self-development because it doesn't allow you to engage with arguments that are outside of your normal everyday thinking. You know, I think one of the biggest parts of my own development was having the opportunity to go to university, to be in lecture halls with hardcore right-wing conservatives, and then go see a lecture from a communist. I literally had professors who define themselves as communists, and hearing both of these sides and hearing the debate and really acknowledging the whole spectrum really informed my decision making on how I look at the world. But if I only viewed it as, well, I'm only listening to Justin Trudeau because I'm Team Red, that's going to very much limit the amount of information that I can process, and it's going to limit the amount of growth that I can achieve as a human being. The last big reason why people get so upset around politics is because politics matters. The choices that politicians make, the laws that government creates, impact how much money is coming out of your paycheck, how much job opportunities are in your local area. They impact what your kids learn at school. They impact how long you have to wait at the hospital. Government is so intrinsic to society and the functioning of society. A well-oiled government will make things easier for people. A clogged up government will make things more difficult for people. So regardless of whether you vote or you don't vote, whether you're politically active or inactive, you can't shake the fact that government plays a fundamental role in people's day-to-day lives. There's real-world consequences that happen based on these pen strokes that our political elite make for us. You can't really turn off from it. You can avoid it. You can kind of stick your head in the sand like an ostrich, but every year you got to pay your taxes. And if you get sick, you got to go to the hospital. And this and this and that. You can't live your life without engaging with the government in some way. So those three reasons are really what I believe to be the core of why people get so upset. So what are some possible solutions? The first one is to remember that these things take time. The government is inherently slow. In our day-to-day lives, when we're discussing politics one-on-one, say you're having a debate with somebody and it's getting a little heated. Understand that you don't have to change their minds right then and there, and you probably won't. There's an expression in sales that says you drip on the person. If you guys know a leaky faucet that kind of drips, drips, drips. The idea that you continually have conversations over the course of a long period of time. You might get the sale, you might not get the sale, but that things take time. That's very important to understand. If you do find yourself getting really heated and you're kind of feeling that emotional feedback, take a walk, get some air. Rome wasn't built in the day. You don't have to settle all of these arguments. A lot of these arguments that we debate about, we've been debating about for hundreds of years. So don't feel like you have to solve everything in one particular moment. Second piece of advice would be to find some common ground. There's a very interesting movement happening around the country, something called agreement parties. So instead of debates, where a debate is where you challenge ideas, you have, 2, 3, 4, 5 people all conflicting, and the best ideas rise to the top, or it kind of just degrades to mudslinging. But a debate, there is a winner and a loser. In agreement parties, you essentially try and form a common ground. You try and form the base. So you say to yourself, can we all agree that the sky is blue? Can we agree that a gasoline engine needs an oil change every once in a while? Can we agree that cats like to chase mice? And if we can't agree on these things, then, we'll explore other things that we can. And they might be funny, use humor, but starting from a base where we can agree and start by building a foundation. You're never going to be able to build a structure that lasts without focusing on the base. And that is exactly what agreement parties try to achieve. Lastly, I would say when you're talking politics and things are getting heated, remember, it is about the ideas, not the individual. It is important to show empathy. We are all on the same team here. Again, going back to that piece of polarization, I know the Reds hate the Blues and the Blues hate the Reds, and there is this whole system that makes us want to fight each other. Your neighbor is not your enemy. They may disagree with you. They may have been raised different. They may have different morals and stuff, but you have to respect them as a person. And I think it's important to use respectful language, to not personally attack anybody, and to just challenge the idea itself. At the end of the day, you are talking with a person. Treat others like you would like to be treated. What really spurred this topic for me, I'm trying to launch this political YouTube channel. I'm about just over 2 months into my journey here on YouTube, trying to present politics in a non-biased and educational way. And I've noticed in the comments, people be getting heated. And, this is common to YouTube, but I just wanted to take the time to kind of lay out my political philosophy, which is respect, and talking about politics in a way that we don't always need to rile each other up. I think it's very irresponsible that modern politicians, and particularly political parties, actively try and pull us apart, actively try and create an us versus them dichotomy, and actively try and ruffle our feathers. It doesn't have to be like that. If you accept the fact that everybody's different, if you accept the fact that politicians are always going to politician, if you accept the fact that politics does impact our day-to-day lives and can have really real-world consequences on people, and that's going to kind of hit them right where it hurts, you have this knowledge in the back of your mind going into these political discussions, I think it's going to help you remain calm and actually get to a compromise, which is the goal of politics. So that was a little bit of my hippy-dippy rant for you guys. Just something I wanted to get off my chest, introduce you into some of the ways that I look at politics outside of just generic policies. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this kind of content, do watch another one. There's going to be a card coming up on your screen pretty soon here. My name is Clinton. This is the Citi-Zen-Ship show, trying to put the Zen back in citizenship. It's all about politics for beginners, so if that is something that interests you, do give this video a like and a subscribe. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.